Let us continue to stand as we look at familiar texts. Luke chapter 21, verses 1 through 4. Luke chapter 21, verses 1 through 4, and I'm reading from the Message, and you will read these words. Just then he looked up and saw the rich people dropping offerings in the collection plate. Then he saw a poor widow put in 2 pennies. He said, the plain truth is that this widow has given by far the largest offering today. And all these others made offerings that they'll never miss. She gave extravagantly what she couldn't afford, and she gave her all. She gave her what, everybody? She gave her all. Turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, are you penny pinching? You may be seated. Are you penny pinching? This is a very interesting story. Recorded in the Bible where Jesus is inside of the temple. This is the only time in the Bible where it's recorded where Jesus is just observing, not saying anything. Most times Jesus, when he comes into the sanctuary, he is always talking, but now he is observing. It is always a good thing to learn how to observe. When you observe, you learn more things than you can ever learn by talking. I wish somebody would hear what I just said. It is always good to observe. This woman, you must understand, in the customary times was different than our times. In our times, when the offering is picked up, the deacons serve. Back in the day, the individuals came up to the front of the sanctuary. They did not go in the most holy place or the holy place, but they went on the periphery inside of the temple, and that's where they would present their offerings. There were people who would always like to make a grand stand. This was show me off time, if you please. You do know what show me off time is, don't you? There are people who dress fine so that people can say you sure look good. And then there are other people who dress because they have to be dressed. Y'all didn't hear that. Then there are other people who come to church not for show of fashion, but they come to church to lift up holy hands and praise the Lord for what he has done and how he has kept them through the past week. But the text says that these individuals came to give their offering or their gifts to God, and Jesus observed. As Jesus observes, he looks and he sees the rich people. I don't think any of us in here are rich. I think most of us live y'all don't have to talk if you don't want to. Most of us live from check to check, because when we try to save, yonder comes a problem, and you take out of your y'all don't have to talk if you want. You take out of your savings to, like my grandmother used to say, make ends meet. Am I right, Mendel? Y'all know about making ends meet. And when I was growing up, at times, grandmother would be doing the cooking, and there would be more juice than beans. But we was eating just the same. Am I right about it? We was eating juice, but we was eating, and we had some rice. You know, because rice seemed to stretch all along with the juice. And you was glad to have some so-called rice and beans. I know y'all up in here, and you was doing real good when you had a little cornbread on the side. But here is the story. There is this lady who comes in, and she kind of hides what she gives, but she gives. And because Jesus knows the heart, you see, we don't know the heart. We look on the out periphery of people, when in reality we need to forget about trying to judge one another, and we need to learn that God is the one who can put you in heaven, and God is the one who can show enough put you nowhere else. God looks on the heart, while man looks on the outside. And so this story continues, and Jesus looks, and he says to the disciples that standing on the side of him, this woman has given more than anybody. Now the disciples say, how in the world could that be? What did she give? Well, the text says 2 pence. 2 pence, you can't even buy candy with 2 cents now. There was a time where if you had a penny, you could buy candy. Now when I was growing up, I would ask for a nickel. Anybody in here know what I'm talking about? And then as time went on, you asked for a quarter. But now children don't ask for quarters. They ask for dollars. Can I get a witness? That's what they ask for. They ask for dollars. That lets us know how times have changed. But Jesus says this woman has given more than anybody. And then he turns around, if you look at the text, and says that she is blessed. Now, here comes the big one. Most of the times when Jesus says something, there is some actual entity that takes place. You recall the woman with the issue of blood. She says, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, the woman received something. She received healing. You recall the time when the soldier said, my daughter is sick. Jairus said, my daughter is sick. I need healing. And you recall what happened. She died, but when Jesus got there, he touched her and she was made alive. That was a result. But in this text, if you look at the text, Jesus says the woman gave more, but he doesn't say what happened to the woman. Y'all missed that. He doesn't say what happened to the woman. So then many of us think that when we tithe, we ought to receive. The text doesn't say that. Are y'all in here? I know he said, I'll open you up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing. He didn't say what the blessing would be. He said, I will pour you out a blessing that you shall not have room enough to receive. He said a blessing. You don't have to talk if you don't want to. I know I'm talking a little strange, because most of us have been taught, and most of us think if I pay a faithful tithe and offering, I'm going to receive something back. Well, you do, but it does not necessarily mean that you're going to receive a Bentley. Does not necessarily mean that you're going to be able to shop at Neiman Marcus, but at least you can shop at Walmart. Oh, give me. I wish y'all helped me talk. And so, during the beginning of the year, many of us made resolutions. Or many of us did make resolutions. What we said was we were going to do better. But then on the other hand, brothers and sisters, I want you to understand something. When I do what God tells me to do, I receive blessings. But if I don't do everything that God tells me to do, that does not necessarily mean that I'm going to receive everything that God would give me. Uh-oh. We think that God blesses me because of tithe. Watch this. It is estimated that at least $25 billion is missing from the pockets of God. And so you're having an economic drought yourself. Because what you're doing is, instead of you robbing Peter to pay Paul, you're robbing God. And when you're robbing God, he's the one who owns everything. Can I get a witness in here? Which means then, does your money lead your heart? Does money lead your heart? I'm asking a question. Does money lead your heart? If money led or leads our heart, then how can we pray and ask God to give us what we think we want? So then, here's the real deal of tithing. I'll never forget. I don't know when I told this story. I may have. I think I have. I'm going to tell it again because when I'm sleeping at night next to my wife and I hear her snoring, which she says she doesn't snore. I look at her and I smile and I remember the way she was when we first got married. Because I've developed a relationship with her. But in order for her to sleep with me, I had to develop a relationship with her in the first place. I know I looked good, you know. I was just too good looking for her to pass up, but don't y'all tell her I said all this though. but the fact of the matter is, I had to develop a relationship with her for her to trust me in order to say that she would marry me and then turn around and believe that I would take care of her. Because her daddy said to me, he called me preacher. He said, preacher, when you take my daughter out of here, don't bring her back. He said, you make sure that you're able to take care of her before you take her. Are y'all up in here? My response was, I can take care of her. He said, you better. So then tithing develops a relationship. What does it develop, everybody? What does it develop, everybody? A relationship with God, meaning that there is some trust. Don't y'all raise your hand because I'm about to ask this silly question. How many of us, instead of continuing to develop a relationship with God, has taken what we were supposed to develop a relationship with God and made a better relationship with dealers? Or made a better relationship with our rent? Or made to develop a better relationship with our car note? And then came here and ask God to give us a better job. See, developing a relationship with God means that we're going to make a commitment. Uh-oh. A commitment. What's a commitment? Somebody tell me, what is a commitment? Talk. Come on, talk. What is the commitment? Okay. Huh? What is a commitment? A commitment is basically a covenant. When you got married, you made a what? A commitment. At least you were supposed to. Come on now, am I right? You made a commitment. What was the commitment? In better, sickness, till what is that? A commitment. You know, how many of you have seen matured couples? Like, take for instance, like my mama and my daddy. Now, mom and dad has been married for 64 years. Now you say, now wait, hold. Wait, hold. Here's what you say. Ooh, that sure is a long time. Am I right? That sure is a long time. The same man, the same woman. That's a commitment. It is a commitment. It is a commitment. I'm going to say it again. It is a commitment. A commitment that says, baby, come hell or high water, I'm going to stay married. I know you get on my last nerve sometimes. You get on my last nerve sometime, but I have made a commitment. I'm going to hang in here. I'm going to stay in here. That's what God is saying to us financially. Let us make a commitment to him. Not something every day. Not something every day. Because what we do with an everyday thing, we do it today, but we won't do it tomorrow. He wants it on a consistent basis. Then the next thing it does, it teaches faith. What does it teach? I have y'all know the name of my dog, don't you? His name is Butter. Every morning, Butter knows my routine. Every morning. Butter comes up to the gate at 7:15. He comes up to the gate at 7:15, and the reason why he comes up to the gate at 7:15 is because he knows that's the time I'm going to feed him. Every morning, rain, sleet, shine, or snow, Butter shows up at 7:15. Now, I mess with Butter sometimes. He gets mad. I know he gets mad. I feed Butter at 7:15 most of the times. Today, I didn't feed Butter at 7:15, but guess where Butter was? At the gate. I asked BJ to feed Butter. BJ, did you feed Butter this morning? Do you understand? There is a faith that draws each and every one of us. We're supposed to have the faith of Butter, that if we are faithful with God, God will be faithful with us. So then, God does what, everybody? God gave us what? You see it up there. He gave us gifts, and God gave us resources. He did what, everybody? He gave us gifts, and he gave us resources so that we would have need of nothing. Uh-oh. He gave us gifts. He gave us resources so that we would have need of nothing. In other words, God is saying he can send blessings to us and then take them away. Did y'all hear that? He can send blessings to us and then take them away because of our y'all do know the story of Ananias and Sapphira, don't you? Maybe you can't remember. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remind you about the story of Ananias and Sapphira. Ananias and Sapphira had some land. Now, Josiah says the land wasn't good land. That's why they couldn't sell it. But then they turned around and said, God, if we sell this land, we're going to give you the money. Wait, did y'all get what I just said? That was their last alternative to try to make a show, but they had another motive in mind. They tried to use the real estate market first for themselves, but they couldn't sell it. So then they got up in church, just like us, because we trying to do some stuff, and they said, Pastor, we got some land. If we sell the land, we're going to give it to God. We're going to give it to the church. And the church starts. So here's what happens. They sell the land. They did what, everybody? They did what, everybody? They sold the land. So here they come after selling the land. After selling the land, they run to the church. Now, who asked? The text does not say that they told anybody how much they were selling the property for. Look at the text. It's in Acts. The text never says how much they sold the property for. Now, who were they giving the property to? God. They couldn't sell it on their own. They wanted to get rid of it, so they said, if we attach God's name to it, he'll sell it for us. Anytime you attach God's name to something you do, you better be careful. You better be careful. And so they sold it. Here they come up to the church. Bloom, 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 bloom. Here's the money. Now notice, they didn't come together. Because if you came together, you would only get one round of applause. So what they did was they decided to come separately so they both could get a whole lot of praise. And when they came, who did they think they were fooling? The people. But they were not fooling God. Because when they came up, and you know, Peter really tried to give them a chance. If you look at the text, he tried to give them a chance, but here's what happened. They lied to God. And you know what else happened? They both died. So then faithful giving is to develop me for the goal which God has prescribed and ascribed for my life. Meaning if I am not faithful with God, then the place where God wants to place me and plant me, I'm always praying and crying to get there, but I never get there. Now, tithing is a means of grace, but not a cause of grace. God gives us grace. Grace is unmerited favor. Grace is something that we do not deserve. Am I right? The cause of grace is sacrifice. You missed that. The cause of grace is sacrifice. So in order for us to develop what God wants us to develop, is we have to also have a cause of grace, a sacrifice. I can't buy forgiveness. I can't buy your love. I can't buy my way into heaven. I cannot buy God's gifts that he has for me because I don't own it. Basically, what do you own? The answer to that is nothing. Job said, naked came I into the world, naked shall I return. Here is one of the main reasons that tear us up. 85% of the people you meet, they're either lonely, empty, they're afraid, and they're hiding. 85% of the people that you meet, they may be smiling on the outside, but they got some issues. Which means then that we have not yet mastered the common things of life. I know I'm teaching. I'm going to preach after a while, but just listen. We have not mastered the common things of life. What are some of the common things of life besides getting up in the morning, praying, and brushing your teeth and putting your clothes on? One of the most common things of life is knowing who I am. Knowing who I am. How many of us, watch this. Rick is looking at me dead in the eye. That's how he's supposed to look at me. When I talk to people, you're supposed to look them dead in the eye. The first thing that happens if you do not talk to people, look at them dead in the eye, you know what they start thinking? Especially a black man. Are y'all in here? That's why other people, when a black man looks them dead in the eye, they get afraid. Are y'all not up in here? I'm telling you facts. That's why I'm afraid for our young black men. Because we, those of us who were growing up early, were taught, don't look them in the face. Am I right, Mac? Listen. The first thing we need to learn is self-esteem. I am somebody. I don't care what you think of me. I don't care where I came from. I am somebody. And if, week after next we start the relation 5 languages of love. If you can't have self-esteem for yourself, how in the heck can you love me? I don't hear you. If you don't know who you are, if you don't have a relationship with yourself, how can you have a relationship with me? That's why so many of us got these toe-up relationships. So we have not mastered the common things of life. When I master the common things of life, I already know who I am, and because I know who I am, then I'm able to see who you are. But if I can't see who I am, I can't see who you are, you done already messed up. He says, I will open up the windows of heaven, and I will pour you out a blessing. So then, God does add. However, say however, God will not multiply what he adds. I'm getting ready to close this. I was there one more time. God does not add, however, God will not multiply what he adds. We got ready to build our house. When we moved down here, Houston was where we came from. That was in 91. When we bought our little house in Houston, interest rates was sky high. That was back in the 80s, if y'all remember. The housing market was just plain stupid. And we had two mortgages. We had a first and a second. Anybody know about first and seconds? Some of us might have it right now, but it was the first and second. And that second loan was at 23%. And I'll never forget, conference says, time for you to move. I'd been at Belford for 10 years. Why? Well, Belford needs an evangelist. Oh, you mean to tell me that when I walked into this church, they had 60 members, and now they have 750, but Belford needs an evangelist? Yes, Belford needs an evangelist. So we got ready to move, because you got to move. Started looking for a house, and we hadn't sold a house in Houston, and couldn't sell it. So because we couldn't sell a house in Houston, guess what? We can look at houses, but we couldn't buy nothing. I mean, we looked all over the place, and I'll never forget, we stopped in Grand Prairie, because we stayed with Pastor Ford. We stopped in Grand Prairie off of Carrier Parkway, and they had started building Highland Homes. And we looked around, and Adela said, I like that house. How much this house cost? And she said, I don't care what the house costs. You moving me down there in Houston, I'm Dallas, from Houston to Dallas. I don't care what the house costs. You're going to have to get this house. You know how y'all talk. And so we went and started signing the papers. Y'all know. And I started praying, because I knew good and well I couldn't pay attention. Because our house in Houston still hadn't been sold. And so I filled out the papers. And 3 days later, the people called us and said we was approved. I said, approved? He said, you sound surprised? I said, yeah. He said, but. Now, you know when somebody say but, there's trouble. But there's some stipulations. I said, well, what other? He said, you got to get rid of that house in Houston. I said a prayer, and then I got a phone call from a member of the church. She said, Pastor, have you sold a house yet? I said, no. She said, I'm willing to make a deal with you. I said, a deal? She said, I ain't got no money. I said, I ain't got nothing to give you either. She said, here's what I'll do. She says, I'll pay the note on the house. She said, and if I pay the note on the house, can I have the house? I said, what you say? She said, if I pay the note on the house, can I have the house? So in reality, what she was asking me was, she just wanted me to give her the house. Guess what I did? I said, okay, I'll give you the house. She signed the paper, got her financing, and I signed my papers and got my house at 4621 Devonshire. Well, we moved into the house at 4621 Devonshire. I forgot about it. That lady paid, and then I saw some property. I think we need to move out to the country. I thought I was moving to the country when I moved to Cedar Hill. I was just a lie. I thought I'm just gonna show you how God adds and blesses you, because y'all getting ready to shout. Saw some property out there where I'm staying right now, Mac, and put a down payment on the property and started getting my design together because I could build my own house, and went to figure out how much this house was going to cost, and got a phone call from a lady down in Houston, Texas. She said, Pastor, she said, you know, you gave me the house. She said, but the house is paid for now. She said, and I need you to sign the deed saying everything is released. I said, do what? She said, I need you. She said, but I got some money for you. I ain't going to tell you how much, but she gave me enough to pay off the lot. I want you to know that God takes care of you if you just teach him and learn how he'll fix it for you. Oh, yeah. And so now I've been in my house for, I ain't going to tell y'all how long. I've been in my house for a good while now. And I smile. And every time the month rolls along, I look and I see the balance is going down. And one of these days, like some of y'all got your house paid for, I'm going to have mine paid for so I can sit back there where Ron going to be sitting with me when we get a little bit older. I want you to understand something, brothers and sisters. If you're faithful with God, he will be faithful with you.